Did you know that the Royal Rumble is happening next weekend? You probably did. You're a nerd just like me. I don't think WWE has picked up on it. They did start leaning into it a lot on Raw, and then we got to SmackDown, and once again, I think they may have forgotten. This is the issue when you do have a somewhat big event, sort of, 7 days, whatever it is, before your second biggest pay-per-view of the year, or going off numbers, your first big pay-per-view of the year, because it is Saturday Night's main event tomorrow, and I think that's what WWE is thinking about. Anyway, we did have SmackDown. Let's talk about it. Now, first and foremost, there was not a lot of promotion for the Royal Rumble, and even when there was, it was just so lackluster. I could not believe that Roman Reigns got announced for the Royal Rumble in a video package. Can you imagine how awesome it would have been if he was on the show and somebody, he's a Raw guy? No, he's not. He's Roman Reigns. He could turn up on NXT if he wanted to, and I'm happy with Joe Anoa'i. The reason I use his real name is because people get confused sometimes. He has a part-time deal. More power to that guy. He deserves a part-time deal. He's earned a part-time deal. Think about how many full-time hours he puts into the thing. But I think if you're not going to have him in a super duper whooper segment where he goes, I am going to enter the Royal Rumble, and Punk, I'm coming after you, or Drew McIntyre, I'm coming after you, and Cody, I'm going to punch you in the face eventually soon, just have him as a surprise. But having a video where it's all like, the music in the background, and Roman Reigns, I don't even think it was his voice. I said over on Ups and Downs and What Culture, check it out, it's my beat by beat review. I could be wrong, this may be me remembering it incorrectly, but I think it was just a voice going, Roman Reigns will be in the Royal Rumble. It's like, okay, great. I found it mad. Even when Jordynne Grace announced she was going to be in it was just so done, not even sentences, but it was just so lackluster. So I'm going to be in the Royal, I guess I'll be in the Royal Rumble. And Jade, I'll probably take you on. I just do not understand it at all. Also means that Jade Cargill doesn't have a World Championship match at the Royal Rumble. I don't necessarily think that's a problem, but it probably means we're going to get Royal Rumble 1, match, end of Royal Rumble. I can't even remember what matches we do. Well, we have Drew McIntyre probably versus Sami Zayn, and I don't think, Cody Rhodes is going to be in the Rumble. I think Fatu is going to be in the Rumble. I don't know what Punk is doing. I still got this idea in my head that it's going to be Punk versus LA Knight in the Rumble. Now I'm totally off that one, because when we get to book that on Raw, I'll have a meltdown. I'll go full geek if that happens. So that was a disappointment, I think, for this week's television. And once again, I get it, because people are going to be, but Saturday Night's main event is not as important as the Royal Rumble. And I'd also say, in terms of the overall build and promotion of that, it also just feels a little bit drab. I'm pumped for that four-way, and I'm pumped for Cody Rhodes versus Jacob for 2. I can't even remember what other matches are on that thing, so more shame me, which is not ascendant. Is the women's tag title match on there? I do not know. I just think, given it's the Royal Rumble, which is a lot of people's favourite event of the year, including mine, you want there to be pomp and circumstance and being like, I can't believe the Royal Rumble is here. And instead it's a bunch of people like, R-Truth is here. And he didn't even really confirm himself for the Royal Rumble. He was just talking about his balls instead. I don't even think we do the balls of the Royal Rumble anymore, so that joke didn't work. Still love R-Truth. He's the best. Otherwise, though, the show kind of revolved around Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn and obviously Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes. I've gone on pieced here. Damian Priest, Trick Williams, Randy Orton and Sami Zayn. They just kept falling out and fighting each other. And it ended with Randy Orton standing tall. He hit an RKO on Trick Williams, hit an RKO on Sami Zayn. So he's not going to win at Saturday Night's main event, and nor should he. Drew versus Randy, going back to that for Saturday Night's main event, I think is too soon. Trick Williams versus Damian Priest main event got thrown out because Sami Zayn attacked after he was basically assaulted accidentally by Trick Williams. I'm a bit bored of WWE main events ending in disqualification, especially because Trick Williams should be able to beat Damian Priest. Now, once again, I love Damian Priest. I think Damian Priest is great. I think he was booked not badly, but not great in the latter end of 2025 to continue on the momentum that he already had. It's what John Cena said when he was talking about his Brock Lesnar match. Sometimes it's not your night, kid. Trick Williams, it's time to get him up to a level. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? He's bedded in so fast on SmackDown anyway, I don't think it matters. It's kind of like, why were you in NXT for so long? You feel like a top guy already, but you still need to get him wins because some people in the audience won't know who Trick Williams is, even though it's been 3 weeks in, and he's getting massive pops. It's not a big deal. I just think sometimes WWE goes, we booked this match, we don't know who to win, so you use your get out of jail free card, which of course somebody can just run in. And I guess this one can be justified because it does tie into the four-way, and they had a big chat at the start of the show, and essentially, Trick Williams said to Sami Zayn, you're the guy that always drops the ball. You get all these chances. Go back to the Elimination Chamber in 2023. You couldn't do it then. I think it will be Drew versus Sami. I think Sami will fall short here. Maybe he goes on to win the Royal Rumble. I don't think so. But I think eventually down the line, he is going to get a world title shot and he's going to win. I think he'll be a champion in 2026, which will be awesome because we've been watching Sami Zayn on our WWE screens. It must be for over 10 years now. It must go back to 2014, maybe at least 2016. It's definitely been a decade or so, I would guess. And I think he's earned it. And let's see what happens. We should always put people people in that kind of situation. Trick Williams is another guy, not this year necessarily, who should be a world champion. The Randy Orton thing is interesting. Now, I think, and this probably trans into our next conversation, but if I were going to hazard a guess my back against the wall, I think it was Randy Orton that attacked Jacob Fatu. I don't really have any evidence to present to you. A judge would tell, get out of my court. You don't know what you're talking about. But the Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu standoff yell thing was brilliant. Jacob Fatu is just good to go. And once again, Jacob Fatu said, I attacked Drew McIntyre because I do think he was the guy that attacked me. And Drew later on said, nope, it wasn't me. So I don't think it's going to be Cody Rhodes. So many people want it to be Cody Rhodes' heel turn. We talked about this last week. I don't think that's been earned. If he did it now, it would be earned because Cody's got a bit of edge about him, not Adam Copeland. He went to AEW. But this attack happened in the latter part of 2025 when Cody Rhodes was super duper whooper babyface, as he should have been. That's such a, in hindsight, story, and I hate those. That's once again a get out of jail free clause. Like, we want to turn him in. I don't think it's time to turn Cody Rhodes heel. Again, he sells a bunch of merchandise. I think you can have fun with his character, but it doesn't need to be this 180. Let's take him on a journey as opposed to go, well, you took Jacob Fatu. And now, we wouldn't even make him a heel when it kind of would. But I just think Randy Orton's the more interesting choice because I don't know what Randy Orton does otherwise. I can see Randy Orton versus Jacob Fatu, although again, you could kind of have them both as baby faces because Jacob Fatu doesn't come across like a stereotypical good guy. Like, it was meant to be a sit-down interview between Cody and Michael Cole. Jacob Fatu runs in, just like, rah, I'm going to kill everyone. And he had an answer for everything Cody threw at him. Like, Cody was like, this match at SNME could have been for the titles. Like, no, it couldn't. Drew was about to escape when I stopped him escaping. And then, yeah, I beat your ass because you had the audacity to put your hands on me. But that's when Drew McIntyre escaped. So really, Cody Rhodes, this is your fault. And Cody even brought up the fact that he'd been in jail. And Jake was like, yeah, and that's what got me here today. That's what made me the man that I am. He just spits fire, does old Jacob Fatu, to use an old cliche. Is it an old cliche? I feel like it's an old cliche. He needs to remain at this level. I'm sure he will. I don't think you're going to be tangling with Drew and Cody and potentially Randy Orton and then all of a sudden drop down the card. But he's another dude that could be a world champion in 2026. Did I just say that? I think I did. What a dumb thing for me to do. Well, I was mostly talking about Sami Zayn. But it was really good and it was really well done. And he held his own against Cody Rhodes, who is the face of the company right now. Get mad, that one Roman Reigns guy. He just is. He's around more. Therefore, he's the face of the company. And it got me super excited about this match. And I would have Jacob Fatu win. You can come up with something crazy if you want to. I don't think anyone needs protecting here because if Cody Rhodes' end game is to win the World Championship back, he can lose and lose and lose. WWE's done that since the beginning of time. And this goes back to the Trick Williams, Damian Priest thing. If Jacob Fatu beats Cody Rhodes, oh my gosh, then he is a made man. And he's probably going to be in the Royal Rumble too, so maybe you can do something there. I doubt that Cody Rhodes is going to win it for a third time because I think a lot of the audience will be like, we want something new. Again, we want fresh bread. It's why Drew McIntyre is so much fun on this show because I don't think we actually expect him to be the champion. And now that he is, it just makes the whole damn thing exciting. So that was really good. And overall, I actually thought this SmackDown was a bit drab, but there were a couple of things that were massive standouts. Drew McIntyre cut a promo as well, and listen, he absolutely went through everybody, but he focused in on Sami Zayn and said, your son thinks you're a disappointment. Maybe they had a phone call, I don't know. So later on, after Sami Zayn tried to make amends with Damian Priest, he slapped Drew McIntyre right around the face. I just think it would be mad, especially because it's in Montreal, SNME, as it was last night, to not do Drew versus Sami. That crowd is going to be so pro into Sami Zayn, you'll be able to come up with some near falls that I think will send people crazy, and that's what that match needs to do. It needs to be exactly the same as the Roman Reigns match from that Elimination Chamber a few years ago. Just make people believe, even though it's not going to happen. I, at first, would be perfectly happy for Drew to have lost that title at this pay-per-view. I've changed my mind now we've got there. It's just made the show feel more fun, so I would extend it out. And the other highlight on this show was Carmelo Hayes versus Ilya Dragunov. Those two guys have great chemistry. It was so good, I didn't even mind the Miz got interfered at the end. At least it was still led to a finish. Although it does mean that we're going to do Ilya versus the Miz, because Ilya went to the top rope, Miz pushed him off. And man, Carmelo Hayes hit the first 48. And this mad dragon, literally and figuratively, definitely not literally, sold that like he had been shot. It was so good. And then Carmelo Hayes pinned him. I don't know if they called an audible or not, because it is technically his signature move as opposed to his finisher move. But more wrestlers need to do this. If you smash a move on someone, it looks great, just pin them, because then you have another move to add to your arsenal, and it's going to make matches further on more exciting, because you don't know what move someone's going to use. So that was awesome. I hope Carmelo Hayes kind of stops doing the open challenge now and gets into a meat and bones feud, because Carmelo Hayes is having a great great 2026, but I want to see him have promos off with people because that's what WWE loves and that's what connects you to the audience more. And he's absolutely got the potential to do that. So I loved it. It was so good. And I don't mind The Miz versus Ilya Dragunov. I think The Miz gets a hard time in 2026. You have to remember what he's done over the last 20 years. And other than maybe John Cena, of course, now he's retired. Nobody has been doing that for that long. So it has been awesome, which is a terrible term of phrase for me to use for obvious reasons. But that was good. And as for the rest of the show, I thought it was all a bit meh. And that sounds horrible. Like Johnny Gargano versus Nathan Frazier was fun. The interference distraction with Axiom putting the mask over Candice Michelle and she punches Johnny and then Nathan hits the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment for the 1-2-3, the surprise roll-up. Just fun, and I'm all happy with fun. But even the MFTs beating the Wyatt 6 for the tag titles felt a bit like, well, of course we needed to do that. If anything, it's long overdue. Do I want to see a rematch? Not really, even though we're probably going to have to, because Sosako used a lantern and drove that into Dexter Loomis's face. I like the fact that Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa are the tag team champions, because now we can reshuffle that division, and they do feel like stars that are higher than maybe the level of the tag belts at the moment, so hopefully they'll be able to elevate them, but it didn't feel like a blow-off to a feud, and I definitely do not want to do another match. I don't think it's justified. And it was the same with the women's tag team division, which you know I'm a huge fan of. Again, you can go through my videos from the last 2 years of me talking about it. The match was okay. I thought it was a little bit wobbly, but it was Charlotte and Alexa, Lash Legend and Nia Jax, and just Kiana James and Julia. Now, maybe I missed something. I missed something a lot. So much information goes in your head when you're watching all these wrestling shows. Sometimes you come and talk about it on here, and you just forget because we're all stupid, or I'm stupid, to say the least. Kiana James and Julia cutting the promo afterwards when Kiana was like, Julia wants to go after 3 titles. Why didn't you say that when you entered the tag team division? And here they won. I just kind of feel like it's come out of nowhere. The other issue I have with it is, firstly, WWE did their favourite finish. So Lash had hit the Lash extensions, greatest name of all of wrestling, onto Alexa Bliss. Charlotte Flair then spears Lash Legend, so Kiana James steals the pin on Alexa Bliss. That doesn't really cement you as a dominant tag team. Not that you need that, but you certainly do when you've only been tag team for the last couple of weeks. But also, Julia is the US Women's Champion, and you do nothing with that belt. Ever since it's been introduced, Chelsea Green had quite a good run, and then we just changed it around, put it on Julia, took it off Julia, put it back on Julia. I think the only time you can actually start jumping into different divisions is when that singles belt you do have feels like a big deal, right? It's kind of why it's working in AEW. I've crossed the forbidden door here. People are going to go crazy at me, but it's true. Willow is defending the TBS title, and she's defending her tag team title. No one does anything with that US title, so I'm like, I think we are getting ahead of ourselves. Before we put Julia in a tag team championship match, maybe we should get some people lined up to actually face her for that belt. And while it can't be Chelsea Green, because we've done that match too many times, you then go to Chelsea Green versus Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill essentially runs through her, and that's when we get the big standoff between her and Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Chelsea should be in her own segment, right? I don't think she should be the... What's the word I'm looking for? Well, the person that gets their ass whipped by Jade Cargill. And I like Jade Cargill in this role, but I mean, she is kind of feuding with Jordan Grace, but it's an odd feud, right? It's really, well, for me it is anyway. And that's what we did with Tiffany Stratton. The Charlotte Flair stuff, I really enjoyed. Went way off the rails at one point, but it felt like a program. After that, we did nothing, eventually loses to Jade. Jade now has not had real proper matches with anybody, or at least from a feud point of view. Now, she kind of gets into a feud with Jordan Grace, but it's not paying off at the Royal Rumble. So you're like, well, that's usually what we would do. Something is just missing here. And I kind of think we could take all the pieces we do have and just spread them wider, whatever that means. I think that maybe Lash Legend and Nia Jax would have been better in this position to take on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Now listen, Julia and Kiana James versus those two is awesome, but I also think maybe you want to hold off Rhea Ripley versus Julia for the singles bout the first time they touched, because I think you can make that a bigger deal as well. I'm not saying I'm right, I could be totally wrong. That's just what I felt when I was watching all these matches. I just a bit like, I would approach it from a different way. Now listen, the people booking these shows know way more than I, so I'm sure there are reasons, but that was my gut feeling to it. And so there was this portion of SmackDown where it really did feel like 3 hours. It was just really after Drew's promo, I was like, oh my gosh, it's 3 hours. And it's when you kind of got finishes like this, based on stories you've only kind of built up over the last 10 days or so, and then we're not drawing a line under it, but we're moving on to the next stage. It was the same with AJ Styles, and I may be being worked here, but that's fine. We're wrestling fans, we're meant to be worked. got invited to SmackDown, so he turned up because he's a nice guy. And Nick Aldis is like, why are you taking on Gunther? He's like, have you actually called me here to have a go at my life decisions? But no, because Shinsuke Nakamura was there, and we booked Nakamura versus AJ Styles for tonight, for SNME. Now, the good part about this is if AJ Styles is retiring at the Royal Rumble, I want to see that match one last time, right? Second of all, now it makes me question, is WWE trying to pull the wool over my eyes in the sense that we're pretending, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, this is going to be the last match in a generational feud, but he's actually going to beat Gunther, but now it's kind of tugging on my emotional heartstrings. But whatever the outcome was, we should have started teasing this earlier. We should have started teasing this at the start of the year, because it just means when finally you do get Shinsuke saying yes and AJ Styles saying yes, it just ramps you up more. Instead, the seed was planted on a Thursday and we pulled it off on a Friday. Very similar to what we did with John Cena and AJ Styles. We didn't have enough date lists for John. John puts it on the internet on whatever day, and a week later we're doing it at Crown Jewel. I just think we can do more with this stuff. And once again, you're going, Simon, you're being so finicky and such a geek and a nerd. I agree with you. I just think there is an emotional, again, with the Jacob and Cody stuff, felt super emotional and charged. All the Drew stuff feels super emotional and charged. I think AJ Styles and Shinsuke could have felt even more super emotionally charged, especially given everything they've done in the past. I mean, the WWE feud was a bit hit and miss, but again, their name value and when they come together is a huge deal. And to book that 24 hours before the Saturday Night's Main Event, I just think you missed out on videos, you missed out on promos, and maybe I just want that, but it kind of tied into this whole episode of SmackDown to me, where it kind of felt like we were in fast forward because we've got to sort Saturday Night's Main Event out, but we're not going to do too much with the Royal Rumble, but we need to do some stuff with the Royal Rumble because, of course, it's the Royal Rumble. Cody didn't even mention the Royal Rumble because, of course, he had to focus on Jacob Fatu at SNME, and I am looking forward to that match. It just feels strange to me to have a 3-hour show and not find the time to be able to promote both, to the point I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And I'm kind of 50-50 on both of them. Now, I think the event tonight will be awesome. I think the Royal Rumble will be awesome because it usually is. You really have to go out of your way to screw that up. So that's really how I felt about SmackDown. When I got to the end, somebody did ask me, should I watch it today? I was like, well, you should watch the Carmelo Ilya match. You should watch Jacob Fatu and Cody Rhodes. And there are some other promos you can check out, but it kind of feels like one you could miss. And I think that is a little bit of a shame. And yes, I mean, maybe I'm just focusing too much on this. I just think we need to take that Women's US Championship and do something bigger with it. And I also think that Johnny Gargano needs a partner, and Fraxium should then go back into the tag team division. And let's get the Street Profits back on TV. We probably need some other teams as well. Maybe Hank and Tank. Are they still there? I think they're still there. Sometimes people leave NXT. I'm like, where'd they go? And I didn't even realise. So it was all right. But I think that sort of where we are in the year, I think saying SmackDown was all right is actually worse than it would be at a different point in 2026, because at this stage, a week away from the Royal Rumble, I think we should be doing dances in our pants, not literally because that's illegal. I am intrigued to see what you think, though, because you probably disagree with me, and that's fine. You can do that in the comments below, though. Again, maybe I've missed some stuff. I do try and watch these shows as meticulously as I can. I'm also doing this, making notes and looking up and trying to come up with jokes because I'm a moron and I'm an idiot and I'm well aware of that. When you are down there, please do like the video, share the video and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs. Not ups and downs. It's my review of Monday Night Raw, but check out ups and downs too. Make sure you do all of that. Otherwise, it is going to be patreon.com/Simon316, goodmine.com/Simon. Brand new creatine gummies. Can I reach them? Yes, I can. These are the best thing ever because obviously creatine is, well, there's studies that say that does work. It is going to help you in the gym, and in gummy form, they taste like sweets. So even if you're on a super hard diet, you can have some fun with them. It's going to fall on the floor. No, it's okay. Simon316 on social media, and then it is TikTok, Cameo, and Pro Wrestling Tees. We will be back tomorrow morning for the SNME review. Don't know why I call it that, because, well, I do. Saturday night's main event is hard for my lips. Worst thing I've ever said. Goodbye.